Big audience last night. One of our biggest. Maybe bigger tonight. Let's see. America's Mayor live. And he's very live tonight. Not because he's happy. Not because he's sad. I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel that the country is going to stand up to these bullies. And they're going to do what America has done in the past to fascists and authoritarians and bullies and communists, Nazis. We're going to throw them the hell out. You're going to be part of it with me and Ted and Mike and all the people that join with us, all our little group that we've established, right? And we're growing, babes. We're growing. You know, Ted and I started this. Ted, what do we start with? I mean, honestly, what was the number? I can't even remember. It was small.
Couple thousand?
I thought it was 8,000.
Yeah, you said about 8,000 more.
Okay, so now one night this week, I know we got to what, 500,000?
Oh, this week one of them might be just under 1 million if you combine all platforms.
And we averaged 200,000 to 300,000.
Look and look, and you guys,
we never go lower than 2. I mean, we started at 8,000, and we're going to start doing it now because we're going to kind of relaunch, and I'll explain that to you. Why not? Because you're my guys and women.
Yeah.
We're going to relaunch because we're getting ourselves ready. This is like spring training for beginning of next year. Not just the beginning of next year, really starting at around Thanksgiving time. We want to be like 100% functioning on all cylinders, because we've been functioning on like 2 cylinders out of 5 or something like that, and doing very well. And the good thing about us is, I think more than any other place, we get you the news you don't get anywhere else, the stuff they don't cover. Now, that isn't hard because I actually just found out. I couldn't believe this. I think this is right. Is Mike still here? He was going around doing something. He's checking out the security to make sure nobody's invading us. But I think there were a couple of stations that haven't covered the FD 1023. Was that what they were talking about, Mike? You and I were looking at it, and
oh, yes. Mayor.
I just have a hard time believing it.
The right, there's something about taking away people's rights. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Very strange.
And they're not covering it.
No, it sounds like it's a BS charge then.
No, I think. Well, I'm going to go to something I was going to do much later in the show. We're going to do it right now because it's a little off the point, but then we'll get on the point. But it's very important. Vivek Ramaswamy hit on something the other day, and I know it's a little off what we're covering, but it's really important. And what it was he called for the release of the Nashville Manifesto. Now, I remembered it, and I was actually surprised that I remembered it. And then I reminded myself that I'm younger than Joe Biden, and I still have a brain, and a good one. But it involves a defendant named Audrey Hale, 28-year-old. We don't know what she is or it is. I don't want to get nasty. I got to do it my way. I'm sorry. You do not get to dictate the words I use. You get to dictate the words I use if you're Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, or Mao Zedong. But since I know Joe Biden, I'm not going to say he was a friend, but he was kind of a friend. He's not going to dictate the words I use, because this is not to elevate me. It's to get you. I'm going to listen to the dumbest man I know and what I should say. I mean, come on. This guy's been manipulated around completely, and we're going through the communist manipulation of words thing that you see in Orwell's 1984. You know, people will say that's conspiracy theory. Sometimes conspiracies are right. You know, on the Ides of March, there really was a conspiracy to kill Caesar. And when the oracle told him, he didn't believe it. next time if they tell you they're going to kill you in the Senate, maybe you should believe it, huh? And who put the last one in? Mike Pence. Oh, I'm sorry, Brutus. I'm really disgusted with Mike Pence, and I've been rather moderate on Mike Pence. If you knew the full story, you'd wonder why. Because I thought he was a real skunk. You know what he is, honest. To tell the truth, this is why it's hard to get angry about him. He's not like a real man. He's a weakling. He's like the last guy who talks to him. And you know what? And you know what his staff did because they're afraid of him. I know. I mean, I've worked for as the chief of staff for the U.S. Attorney, the Deputy Attorney General. I know what a chief of staff does. His chief of staff spent 2 weeks keeping me away from him because he knew that I probably could influence him and he would have to kind of work him back to where he wanted him. And they would not let me see him. So if you notice, and if you read that indictment, which is not an indictment, it's a recitation of a man's exercise of his First Amendment rights that remarkably has been turned into some allegation of a crime that they can't even figure out what it is. The architects of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution have turned over 4 times in their grave since this all started. The only thing about them that makes them wiser than us is they knew it was going to happen, and I never thought it would happen. So, some of the things that the Biden and the Democrats have done to our country breaks my heart. They've destroyed the agency that I gave 18, 19 years of my life to. They haven't destroyed my office yet, the Southern District of New York, although they've taken a lot of liberties with it. Still can make rational decisions. Look, they kicked out Michael Cohen. They kicked out Zev Parnas. They kicked him out because they caught him in lies. And whereas the special prosecutor and the Jack Smith crooks, they don't act that way. You can tell as many lies as you want as long as you tell lies for them. There's certain things about the Southern District where even here under this pressure, they've acted much more honorably. And some people would say these are small distinctions, but I think they're important. And I think there's enough of the tradition of the Southern District there that prevents the kind of fascist tactics that are now common under, I even hesitate calling him Attorney General. I would say hair prosecutor. The commandant of prosecutions, Merrick Garland, who really doesn't pay much attention because he's looking at how much money son-in-law is making on his business, nice little side business when Merrick can make everybody, he can make them kind of like terrorists. And then you run up the price of the product that his son sells, son-in-law, and making millions, by the way, doing well. Kids doing well. You know what he sells? He sells trying to convince kids to change their gender in public schools. And he's got lots of contracts. And he's got a father-in-law leading the charge to terrorize parents. That's how crooked this administration is. You can't look anywhere and not find dishonesty. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm the best prosecutor this country had, oh gosh, in the last century. And I haven't lost the skills. And my nose tells me this administration stinks all over the place. When the guy at the top, and they all know it, is taking money left and right, taking amounts of money that are scandalous, and the press is making up ridiculous excuses for him, man, they go wild. They go wild. I am convinced that this whole indictment of him, which may have come later, I'm not saying that, But this whole indictment of him was accelerated because the publicity following Archer's testimony, not just his testimony, because the minute you take his testimony, it then, for me at least, it brings in all kinds of things that corroborate. And then for others too, like only a few others really know this. Only a few others really know the hard drive the way I do. Miranda Devine, maybe better. Bob Costello. Tell you who's got a real, John Solomon has got a real, he's got a real pair of. And there are a few other people, and I don't want to get too silly about it, but there were a few other people. But I mean, I'm right up there in the top 10, knowing it. So immediately when I hear things, I can do connections to the hard drive. I mean, it just comes to you. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is, since the president, and I don't know, I want your opinion on this, and I'm going to give out the number 1-646-573-5177. And several things could happen if you don't call it. One is we could cut off your broadcast. Ted knows how to do that. He does. He's talked to one of the left-wing Chinese trained places, and they know how to cut off your broadcast if you don't do what we say. I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. You can't kid. I forgot. You can't kid anymore. My God. You know, we always wanted to have like a somewhat comic radio show, right, Ted?
We can do it.
No, you can't do it anymore. You go to jail or something. You know, if you don't agree with the government's position on the case, you go to jail. That's what they're trying to put Trump in jail for. They're trying to put Trump in jail because he doesn't agree with Jack Smith's interpretation of the case. And Jack Smith is one of the biggest liars in Washington, with a history of it, having been found to be unethical by the Supreme Court. I always like to show it too. See, that's what you call for car, right there. You call that. And look, every once in a while, I don't mind it if somebody wants to call in and say, Giuliani, you're the biggest jackass that ever lived. Is it really true that you're co-conspirator number one? And you know, co-conspirator number one fraudulently did this and fraudulently did that and fraudulently did this. And the only reason I cannot acknowledge that I'm co-conspirator number one is almost everything attributed to co-conspirator number one and almost everything else in that indictment that I know about, I don't know about all of it, is directly false or completely maneuvered to sound terrible. I'm going to show you some examples of that as we move along. But let's begin with the single most important thing that should have been accomplished today, or maybe it was a little too early to accomplish it today. I'm not sure. But I think I would have started with this. I would have said, Judge Chutkan, don't make too many plans because we intend to get you the hell off this case. You don't belong in this case unless we are a authoritarian form of justice. Judge, you're a contributor to the Democratic Party. You're in love with Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and probably Joe Biden. You hate Donald Trump. You have put 9 of the 11 January 6 people before you, some of whom committed questionable crimes. You've put them in for more time than the vicious, out of control, crazy, Trump deranged prosecutor wanted. You're the only judge who has done that. You got a real problem, Judge. You got a hatred that's out of control when you do that. It must have happened, but I can't remember a judge ever giving somebody more time than the prosecutor asked for, that I asked for. And these guys are not exactly pansies. They're arresting these people in the middle of the night. And one guy they arrested was inside the Capitol for 3 minutes. They went to his home. They knocked down the doors. They scared the living daylights out of his kids and his neighbors. They took him away in shackles. And who knows, they put all kinds of things on his door. You will not come to this door. You must tell us in the neighborhood what we don't have 1,000 yet. We have to get 1,000 more. That they've arrested 1,000 people. A lot of them now they're arresting weren't even inside because there was no room inside. There were so many FBI agents. It was hard. It was hard to fit in between. I know there were a lot of FBI agents because Ray won't tell you how many there were. And they won't turn over their notes, and they won't put up their records, and they won't turn over 95% of the tapes, many of which are going to show something ridiculous like that shaman character who ran all around and the cops were running after him laughing. They could have stopped him at any minute. They not only didn't stop him from going into the well of the, I keep forgetting if it was the house or the, it was the house. They didn't even stop him from going into the well of the house. They actually helped him find the door that was open. The first one wasn't open. And they took him over and showed him where the door that was open was. And very nicely, I mean, can't complain about them, a lot better than the ones that wiped out Ashley Babbitt. They opened the door for him to let him in. I don't know. You think the guy might have thought he was permitted to do it? If a cop opens the door to let you in? You think maybe they suckered this guy like really big time? I don't even think the cops were suckering him. I think the prosecutors did it in the way they interpreted it. But then he goes up on the podium with his stupid, I don't even know what that, I don't know what a shaman is. I don't know what that pole he was holding was, the significance of it. I think it's all a bunch of bull. If we put every jackass in this country in jail, half the country would be in jail, right? What damage did he do? Like, that was an insurrection? Okay, if this is going to be the worst insurrection we get, I think we can handle it. And they still say it. This judge,
guns.
Judge Tanya, that's her over there. She looks a little annoyed in that picture. Judge Tanya Chutkin thinks that this was like 9/11, that this was like Pearl Harbor. And what it was, I don't know, can you even call it a riot? I don't know. But you certainly can say it was inflated and exaggerated maliciously and deliberately by the Democrats, by the FBI, and by the Capitol Police. And nobody, not a single person gives a damn for the death of Ashley Babbitt or Ms. Boyle. Nobody. Nobody, not a single person.
Mayor, to anyone who even compares January 6th to 9/11, it's none of these people who are comparing it were at 9/11. Guess who was at 9/11? You were at 9/11. So how dare they even compare January 6th to that day? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
But you know, they've brainwashed the country on this January 6th thing.
That's the unfortunate part, Mayor. This has gotten to tens of millions of Americans.
I think we pushed a lot of it back by showing how many FBI agents are in there. But you know what we've never done? We've never really done an analysis of how many Antifa people are there. I knew from the moment it was happening, when the tape was brought to me, and the person who brought it to me said, "You see those people knocking down the door? Yeah, I can see them. One of them's Antifa. I'm not sure about the other." I said, "How do you know?" And the person said to me, "Well, I've infiltrated them for 4 years."
100% correct. I covered Antifa for. I also can tell you, Mayor, 100%. I know for Bob. I know I have contacts.
I'm sorry. I have a different view. 100%. I have a different view of that, which under Jack Smith's theory would mean I go to jail. Just think of his theory. His theory is that he actually gives this case away, and the case should be dismissed. Don't even write an opinion. Just put him in jail. I mean, he says Trump has a perfect right to question the election. His lawyers have a perfect right to question the election. But then they can't. Now it's hard to figure out what they can't do. They can't lie. Well, when you define a lie as, if you don't agree with my version of things, you're lying, then you've just eliminated the possibility of litigation, because you have a plaintiff and a defendant, and the truth to the plaintiff is a lie to the defendant. And on the defendant's side, the truth is the defendant's version, and the lie is the plaintiff's version. And what they wanted him to do is accept their version. So they say things like, your attorney general told you that there was none, zero interference in the election. Okay. How does that square up with the report I spent a lot of last night reading from Atlanta and from Georgia, where Senator William Ligon filed a report saying, in conclusion, the election was fixed by enough votes to change the outcome, and then goes on to list, 110 witnesses. I mean, you can read it. So now I'm a lawyer. I got Barr telling me that. I got Ligon telling me that. I got a client. I have no choice as a client. I got to go with my client. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I have to view it in the light most favorable to him. I don't think he has much choice but to believe in it. I mean, it's not as if somebody made it up. It's right there. You can go read it. I read it to you last night. I'll read it to you again. I'll read it to you the cows come home. And not only that, I'll read it to you for 4 of the states. He had every right to believe that the election was stolen. A lot more of a right than you think, because they've demagogued this terribly. No, they haven't demagogued it. They've corruptly tried to change the definition. They did the same thing with this. They did with Russian collusion, with the call to Zelensky, in which they suppressed a hard drive so you would find out that Trump was right and they were wrong. They did it when they accused Trump and me of being Russian agents. That turns out to be a complete effing lie. And you still believe them? Are you kidding me? Do they think we're stupid? Why wouldn't the people who did all that steal the election? It's not as if Democrats haven't stolen elections before. The reason the Democrats have an advantage in stealing an election is they are much more powerful in the old, decrepit political machines that make up American cities. Nobody knows that better than I do, because I prosecuted them and I defeated them. So you're not going to, I mean, you can tell me all the garbage you want to tell me. Jack Smith, you're a damn liar. And you're a sick man. And you're doing great damage to this country. Bring a case like you brought, and I've read it 3 times now, in trying to indict anybody, Donald Trump or the homeless guy on the street, for exercising his First Amendment right to complain about an election that is so un-American. I think Abraham Lincoln would throw you out. Abraham Lincoln had a great definition of what makes a great American. Who believes in our rights more? You don't believe in our rights. Trump has no right of free speech. He doesn't have right to counsel. You think I don't know why you put in all the key lawyers in the co-conspirator section? That's to cut off the credibility of his lawyers. Right? And you made those scurrilous remarks about us, like our position and our view is less than yours. I don't know. I did pretty well in law school, my friend. And God Almighty, there's no comparison between you and me as a prosecutor. You're a disgrace. I mean, you got reversed by the Supreme Court. You got other cases thrown out. You couldn't convict Senator Edwards because you framed him. You couldn't convict McDonald because you framed him. And the Supreme Court ate nothing, including the liberal judges, threw you out. Gosh almighty, I don't have a record like that. Yeah, I have probably the most significant prosecutions, successful, affirmed by the courts, of any prosecutor in the 20th century. I think I have a little more authority on this than you do, jerk. But you're not a jerk. There's something wrong with you. this kind of evil prosecution, there's something wrong with you. Maybe this Trump derangement syndrome, there is something to the fact that it's a mental illness. But I'm telling you, so I'm going to go into one thing that maybe can illustrate this a little bit better. We'll see. But this is one that I feel very strongly about because I was questioned by them. And people say to me, are you conspirator number one? And I say, it sounds like I am, but almost everything attributed to me is a lie. Just a damn flat out lie. So if they think that they're relying on me for that testimony, good luck, pal. 'Cause I ain't lying for you. Oh, and by the way, let's get it over with right now. You want to indict me? Screw you. I don't recognize your authority because you're not American prosecutors. You're following Soviet and Nazi rules. I know the rules better than you do. I didn't lose cases. You did, jackass. You want to prosecute me? Prosecute me. What am I can't stop you. I mean, you're not guided by fair principles. Otherwise, you wouldn't have brought this case. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done the sneaky, dishonest things that you did that, like the guy you're working for, Biden, indicates you're a man of no character. So I'm going to pick one little thing that I think people might be able to understand. In the indictment, Ted, we know exactly where I lost a page in the indictment where he just puts in in order to make it look like I had something to do with the riot. I want you to think about this for a minute. It's a little bigger than this. Many reporters pointed this out. Many didn't. A few of the small group of honest reporters we have left pointed this out. But of course, none of the stations did. He's bringing a case in which he is not charging that Trump incited the riot. He's charging that he engaged in fraudulent behavior to try to change the result of the election. The electors, some of the statements, but he stays away from a charge of trying to anything that would get him close to insurrection. Now, he desperately wanted to do that because if he could convict him of that, he could bar him from public office. That's where they started. So these guys failed, but they're still going to try, even though they didn't charge it, they're going to try to taint the case with somehow suggesting that Trump and his people, including yours truly, somehow created January 6th. Well, they called me as a witness. We're going to have a lot of fun because they had a lot more to do with January 6th than I did. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing. And I'm pretty secure in saying that because nobody would believe me if I just said it, right? Because I spent my whole life prosecuting people, having a flawless record, changing New York City. And now, for some large portion of the country, you can just say I'm a big liar and ruin my reputation, take my law practice away because I support Trump. However, you got screwed on this one big time. And by the way, Jack, you're not all that smart because you shouldn't have put this in the case. I'm going to move to have it removed from the case because it is straight out dishonesty. You just go ahead and say that on January 6th, I made a lot of remarks that were incendiary, including trial by combat. Now, Jack, I don't know if you're a straight out liar or a lazy bum, one or the other, but I don't know if you know that this has been resolved already with a lot more consideration than you gave it. I was charged with that by an equally dishonest person, Benny Thompson. And Swalwell was the major defendant. This may have been recommended by the Chinese spy that he was screwing, but I don't know. Could have been her case or his case, but that's okay. He's a Democrat. He can screw Chinese spies, and Joe Biden can take material and steal it from the White House and put it in Chinatown. And nobody cares. Nobody cares that he put material in Chinatown. What the hell would he put material in Chinatown for? Why would he put a box right next to his son, who passed it every single day, and his son admitted that he's a partner of the spy chief of China? How do you get away with these things if you don't own these people? If we're not a corrupt government? Well, the judge, and I'm going to try and see, there are red underlined portions there, Ted. Can people see that? If you focus on that, can they see that? And then we'll go and take a little break. Yeah, or do you want to take a little break?
Let's take a break first.
Let's take a break for QUX, where you can save lots of money. You can have security and privacy. And you can be dealing with the best people who look at the world like you do, and you can further this. Let's empower our own people instead of these media people. This is one of the things we got to do. We got to change the media around, and education as well as politics. Then we can take our country back. And Abraham Lincoln and my hero, Ronald Reagan, will be proud of us. We'll be back. Right.
The year is 2022. Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom, as we know it, has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With Qwix, digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. Qwix. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting Qwix.tv. Get yours now before they sell out. Be part of a brand new online experience that you control.
This is it. You're going to save like, I don't know, $10,000 a year. I mean, it's ridiculous with this thing. This, you get the premium package, right? Most people get the intermediate package. I'm being absolutely straight with you. Most people get the intermediate package to test it because they don't want to go in for, I think the intermediate package is $45, which they did because Donald Trump was the 45th president. I want them to move it to $47. I think that would be better. Let me see if I can do that. Because I think it's like shows our confidence. But in any event, for that you get probably, and this is a rough estimate, and I'll check it for tomorrow, but you probably get 2/3 of the stations. And all the ones, unless you're a very avid, you want all the movie stations, all the special stations, so you can have your brain kind of like be brainwashed by all the garbage. The $45 one is a good one to start with. You can upgrade any month you want. I think the same financial terms if you do code Rudy. So get this. I can put this in. If I can put this in, you can put it in. Ted, what do you have to do to put it in? We'll do that. One night we'll do that for him. You just take one wire, the HDMI wire.
Just got to power it, and you got to put the second one in your HDMI input.
Wire, which is right here. See, right here.
Very
There's the HDMI. You put it there, boom, boom, ba, right like that. Then you go to the TV. You find you got HDM1, HDM2. Depends on you may only have HDM1. You got 2, 3, 4. You got to
just got to get it in there. Just get it in the hole.
Pick one. Usually HDM2 is a good one to use because you might be using HDM1. But it doesn't matter. And then, you play with it a little. You can readjust it if you're in the wrong one. Okay. So now you do that. And then you take the power thing and you put the power thing here. Mm-hmm. And you stick it in an electric socket. You know what? We still have electric sockets.
It's the same as if you had your Roku, any of these Apple TV, a lot of these attachments. And you know what? Talk to your kids or grandkids, and I guarantee you they'll know how to plug these in. Here's the thing though. We're in this weird window where this is a post cable box world, right? But we'll be at the point where we won't even have these attachments. It's going to all be smart TVs. We're in a weird place in between where
with the cable
these additions to your TV.
So you plug this in, 2 wires, boom, boom, HDM in, power in. Here's room for an additional speaker or headphone. And I'll tell you what the rest of these are for. I'll tell you what they're for, actually. You can also broadcast with this. And we'll go into that over time.
Yeah, over time we'll do that. And here's last point on this, Mayor.
Look at the size of it.
You can catch America's Mayor live on your TV this way. We left out one of the key parts of this. America's Mayor Live is featured on QUX prominently.
And very soon you'll be able to buy things right on there.
Because right now you're most likely
nobody will know how much you bought, and Amazon won't be able to profile you. See how small it is? I did that on purpose. Like you're going to go to grandma's for Christmas. You take 2 wires and this, and grandma can have one.
And they're going to give you.
This may be my Christmas present this year.
And by the way, they give you the 2 wires, so you don't. It all comes in one box.
One for Andrew and Andrew and Z when they come back from Lithuania. I'm gonna have it all. I'm gonna sneak in their apartment and hook it up for them.
And now you know. Not only can you make this a great gift, but you also know how to install it.
I'm going to show them. Okay, now
displaying love.
As long as we're making some money, let's make a little more money. This is really important. There was a great article in the new Epoch or Epic Times. We got to call them. We got to call them for their official name. But I love that newspaper. I love that. You see how excited I was yesterday when it came? Man, a week before Wednesday, I had to leave early at 7 a.m. I was thinking, we'll delay. They'll bring, and all of a sudden the paper showed up and we could go. Now, here's Balance of Nature. Best looking pill boxes in the world. You should just get it for the damn pill boxes. I'm telling you. Look at that. This is the best looking. Look at it. Man, oh man.
That's right.
So now you have veggies. I'm reading all these articles about how important veggies are. This is critical. I mean, Dr. Maria has been taking a few days off because she's taking care of her dad. But when she's back, she'll be able to give you even a much better authoritative explanation of this than I do. Just trust me. You should have vegetables and fruit. You know that. And you don't have enough. So I don't know. Take 2 in the morning and 2 at night like I do. I'm going to tell you, it only takes a couple of days. And you're going to feel it. You're going to feel much more energetic. I'm telling you, you will. Look at this. Here they are. Okay.
That's right. And they're so easy to take. And they make you feel better.
Even just
50 something different fruits and vegetables.
Even just looking at the colors makes you feel better. red and green. Nice red and green too. Now let's see where I have. Oh, here we go. I got something.
Look at
here.
that. Easy. The mayor's taking them right.
I don't have
here
enough
on
water this
the
time
show.
for my. If you give me a little more water, I can have my spices and my. I can have my spices. Okay, let's get back to business here. Any calls?
We'll check the lines. Give us a call.
1-646-573-5177.
Give us a call. We'll get you on right away. And
Now I
discuss
wanted to
all the
go
latest
over.
news.
I wanted to go over this atrocity by Smith. It is a bit personal because it involves me, and there are many more of these, and they're worse as they involve the president, I must say. But I think you might be able to grasp this one, and you'll get how crooked he is.
Put you on hold.
So in the middle of the indictment, he just puts down, with reference to January 6th, that I said trial by combat. Now, you put that all by itself, that sounds like I'm advocating for violence, right? Right. Wouldn't an honest man clarify that if that weren't the case? Wouldn't an honest man clarify that if in the 4 or 5 sentences before I got up to trial by combat, I explained that what I wanted to do and was recommending was that we test a basic machine that has been checked out for not being able to access by the internet or not change the vote, that we tested against some of the machines that we utilized in the election. And I said, in the middle of that, I said, we could have a trial by combat. And then if your machine wins, I'll have to apologize to you. And if my machine wins, you go to jail. Obviously, I was not talking about violence. Nobody thought I was. Nobody got excited and upset. Nobody even ran away. The whole situation on Capitol Hill didn't take place for a few hours later. And I didn't even know they were going to Capitol Hill. So I was sued. I was sued by the biggest group of liars in Washington, the House committee that framed Trump 3 times and is trying to do it again. And I went before a judge that was appointed by President Obama, and that was thought of similar to the judge that has the Trump case as a very, very harsh sentencer of people on January 6th with a very, let's say, not a nuanced view of January 6th. Basically, he bought hook, line, and sinker the propaganda view, like the way the Russians used to do through Pravda. He didn't, examine things like what really happened to Ashley Babbitt. Shouldn't we really know how many FBI agents were in there? Shouldn't we identify all the Antifa people? Is it possible that they exaggerated this thing? And a couple of little things that would suggest that. They originally reported that 4 people were killed by the rioters that day. It turned out that nobody was killed by the rioters that day. And the only people that were killed were pro-Trump people. That's just a fact. They deny it because they have to, but it's not just a fact. So they put this thing in there, and then can they see that, Ted? Or do I have to read it to them?
Oh, no, they can see it.
They can see it. Okay. So you see my name at the top, Giuliani. There are a group of defendants in this case, including the president, Donald Trump Jr., who was also dismissed. Some were dismissed, some weren't. But here's with regard to me, which I guess Jack is so busy he kind of missed this. So therefore, he lied about me. Giuliani, the court reaches a different conclusion as to Giuliani, Obama judge, by the way. There's little doubt that plaintiffs have adequately pleaded that Giuliani was involved in a conspiracy to engage in a months-long misinformation campaign to convince Trump supporters that the election had been illegally stolen. Now, I dispute that. I think it wasn't disinformation. I think that was as much disinformation as when these geniuses said that I was a Russian agent, or when they said I was giving out disinformation when I said that natural immunity is better than what they have, now virtually agreed on by everyone. These people are not the arbiter. We don't have a ministry of truth in this country where somebody with political motives can tell you what you're allowed to say, and you better say that. But in any event, the judge disregards that and says that even if I had done that, it doesn't violate the law. Now, why does he say that? Because we have free speech in this country. We resolve these things. If I'm saying something wrong, we resolve this by you challenging me and saying something right, not putting me in jail, which is what they want to do. What plaintiffs most plausibly establish is that Giuliani conspired to prevent Congress from discharging its duties on January 6th by what plaintiffs must plausibly establish is that Giuliani conspired to prevent Congress from discharging its duties on January 6th by force, intimidation, or threat. There, they fall short. Apparently, he didn't read this because he charged me without modifying it, without explaining it was taken out of context, without saying that I've been cleared by a United States district judge that is very anti-Trump, very anti-January 6th defendant, and it's pretty much in their pocket, except not for this. In addition to his pre-January 6th actions, which alone do not establish Giuliani as a 1985 one conspirator, which means a conspirator that wanted to create violence, right? Plaintiffs pointed to Giuliani's acts. His rally speech, which I said, so let's have trial by combat. We can skip that other part. I mean, we could say we're going to fight to the very end to make sure that doesn't happen. And a phone call that he made to members of Congress urging them to delay the certification. How about this? These allegations individually and taken together do not nudge plaintiff's 1985 one claim against Giuliani across the line from conceivable to plausible. He found that claiming that I had anything to do with what happened on January 6th wasn't plausible. Did you read that, liar? Did you get some paralegal on your staff to read it? Will you now amend your defamation of me, you creep? Will you amend it? Are you man enough to say that you basically lied about me by leaving that trial by combat out there and not explaining that a judge threw it out of court at such an early stage in the proceeding that it was outrageously false? And the only person in America who would repeat it is a guy with your record as a dishonorable prosecutor. You know how many things like this are in this indictment? This is a smoking gun that proves he's dishonorable. If you're honorable, correct it, Jack. We can go on. As to his rally remarks, Giuliani uttered no words that resembled a call to action. Trial by combat was not accompanied by a direction to do anything. So I don't know. I could read the rest of it. He didn't. Or if he did, he didn't give a damn and just directly lied. I have so many more like this relating to me, relating to the co-conspirators, and most importantly, relating to Donald Trump.
Well, Mayor, are you ready for
This-
some?
This could be one of the most offensive indictments to our values and our way of life ever entertained by a federal court. And I got to tell you, Abraham Lincoln's turning over in his grave and telling you this guy really should go to another country because he doesn't understand our legal system and doesn't agree with fairness, honesty, and decency.
Well, that's right, Mayor. Are you ready for a phone call, Mayor?
I am ready.
Now, of course, we've got a few days without phone calls, so give us a call. We want to hear from you. And Mayor's going to hold up, or I'm going to put that number up on the screen. It's 1-646-573-5177.
Mayor, you were on phone with Rob in New Jersey. Rob, you were on with the mayor.
Hello, Mayor.
Hey, Rob, how are you? Haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah. Oh my God, I've been busy as hell, but I've been watching.
Good. I'm glad you're busy.
You know, these recent attacks on you might very well be. I'm hearing myself twice. That's why I'm pacing in between sentences.
Well, you're doing better than Biden.
So I think they're just. I think they're pissed off at you because you forced Joe Biden to have to acknowledge his granddaughter.
Yeah, I was the first
I
one,
think-
wasn't I? Yeah, I'm glad you remember that. I was the first one to say he's an evil man.
Yeah, Mayor, we lost him, unfortunately.
Tell him to come over tomorrow.
Rob, if you're listening.
Yeah,
give
you're
us a
invited.
call.
Tomorrow's Friday. We'll have a party.
And we'll have Rob and some friends. Give us a message. Text the number if you have interest in.
I mean, you got to understand,
Live.
Rob is very valuable. Rob does a tremendous amount of research. So, everybody, we get great callers, Ted, both
Yeah.
here and on WABC.
You-
I mean, from the first moment I went on WABC, I was so impressed with the callers. That's why I wanted to add callers to this show. And
That's
now,
right.
and now we've added live Skype,
We're going to be doing Skype pretty
which
soon.
we're going to be doing pretty soon. We're getting very, very technical.
And those of you that have been with us from the start know where we, kind of how we started this
But our
and where
real
we've
job
come.
Our real job is getting you the stuff that you don't get. I got to go back and look at that thing that hasn't been on television yet. I thought they said it was the FD 1023, in which it's alleged that the Bidens got a $10 million bribe. I don't know how you can justify to your conscience, whether you believe it or you don't, not reporting that when it's an official report of the FBI with an informant that they have vetted as telling the truth. That's the basis. You could use that to get a search warrant. It's the antithesis of what they did to Trump's people when they went with the Pfizer guy, who was an unreliable guy that they had actually thrown out of the FBI. I mean, they go with that, and this guy they bury.
That's right, Mayor. We have another phone call from you. His name is Michael, and he's from Yonkers, and he has a very interesting question for you.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Oh, hi, Mr. Mayor. I met you when I lived in the Bronx on 236th Street in Woodlawn, and shook your hand and voted for you that time. Now I live in Yonkers, but I don't understand with all the abuses on the record, investigations, and why doesn't President Trump go to SCOTUS? Isn't there a legal procedure to have SCOTUS intervene and just throw this out because Jack Smith is really a partisan, pointed under the law? Just corrupt everything, so much corruption, evidence, everything. Isn't there some way he could take it to SCOTUS and for election interference, just on that, and just.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
He's done.
You know, they have done a very good job of taking control of the major prosecutorial agencies. I've been warning about this for 2 years. They've turned them into something that is completely anti-American. They've turned them into creatures of the state. So that's why you get something like, oh, they're spending all this time on this ridiculous charge against Trump that he complained about the election, which everybody in the world knows he has a First Amendment right to do. And meanwhile, Joe Biden is sitting on the beach with the evidence of the money that he got from countries all over the world is mounting up. The press ignores it. The right-wing press puts it out. The congressmen courageously try to push it forward. But we're at the point that's very, very dangerous. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very dangerous man in the White House. It affects me. It affects you. It affects our children. This is a man who has two major problems that are being covered up by the Democrats and by the press and by the 80% dishonest media that we have. First of all, the man is now well beyond a proven crook. I've never seen more evidence to this. Never seen more evidence to this. I mean, tape recorded, video recorded, straight out documents from banks, 10 witnesses, FBI reliable sources. And we let him stay there. And now it isn't just that he's a crook. Because maybe he's not taking money now. I don't know. So you say, well, what's the problem? He was a crook in the past. But two of the countries, at least, that he took a lot of money from require a president who can be independent. This isn't just the disgusting aspect of criminality of bribery, which is disgusting. I mean, this guy is a trailer trash piece of shit that came out of Delaware, and they were taking pennies with his brother, and they've built up to be really important. And the only thing strange about this is how a guy can make 40 or 50 million on an IQ that arguably breaks, 3 digits. This is the guy who left back in the 3rd grade. This is the guy who cheated in law school and plagiarized, cheated as a senator and plagiarized. Maybe at that point we should have said what Sam Donaldson said. We should throw him out of politics.
That's right, Mayor. We're going to have one more phone call tonight. We have...
You're restricting me?
No. We're just getting a lot of volume. We have Russ from Roxbury, New Jersey. Russ, you are on the air with Mayor Giuliani.
Oh, thank you.
Hello.
Go ahead, Russ.
Is Rudy on?
Yeah, I'm right here, Russ. This is me.
Oh, hi, Rudy. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, Russ?
Let me turn off the sound on there.
Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
Question I have for you is, with this new charges against Trump, doesn't that open the door for attorneys to present a lot of the evidence that they've been hiding and the inconsistencies that show that the election was clearly questionable and probably not verifiable?
You're 100% right. In fact, it makes it easier than that. If you were bringing the case, you would have to show, and it would be a civil case, not criminal. You'd have to show by a preponderance of the evidence that the election was stolen. Now, dishonest, crazy Jack Smith has to show beyond a reasonable doubt not only that it wasn't stolen, but that Trump didn't believe that it was stolen. So even if it wasn't stolen, and it was, believe me, but even if it wasn't, and you can't prove that, if Trump has a whole bunch of documents that he's relying on that suggested it was stolen, as an American citizen, he has every right to have a different opinion than the government. You realize how dangerous this is? They are prosecuting him because he has a different opinion than the ruling regime. Where do you say something like that? When did you ever say in America that somebody would be prosecuted because they have a different opinion than the ruling regime? And the opinion happens to be very damaging to the ruling regime. But nonetheless, it's an opinion protected by the First Amendment, except in the new authoritarian fascist style government they're creating for us. And I don't, and when Trump says, I'm fighting for you, don't know that everybody gets it. But he is. They're coming after, they've already come after all the Trump people. I know, me. And they're going to come after all the rest of the Trump people. They want you to be subjected to some kind of a second-class status in this country. So God forbid you never elect a person like Trump who may try to protect you, because they're much smarter than you are. I mean, didn't you get it when Hillary called you deplorables? Didn't you get the arrogance of that? Didn't you get the authoritarianism that comes out of that? If you're deplorables, we can tell you what to do, because we're a lot smarter than you are. Now, yeah, they're really smart, the Clintons. I don't know who's going to go down as the most corrupt president. Clinton, Obama. I know you're surprised by that. I'm not. And Biden. Right now, based on the evidence coming out, Biden would be ahead. Clinton would be like a bit of a small timer because the money was a lot less. But you got to watch Obama not coming out first here, because he knew everything. He knew everything that Biden was doing.
That's right, Mayor. I can't imagine.
Let him do it.
I can't imagine Biden.
So what the hell was he doing for himself? He sure likes the good life.
Sure got quite the place up there. Is that Martha's Vineyard?
He acts like he was trained in a lot of communism by a very, very dedicated communist. So I think he's got the entitlement view of a communist, which is, if you're a big member of the party, you get to live like a multi-millionaire prince and everybody else can starve. He doesn't do much for the people of Chicago except watch them get killed every weekend. Doesn't do anything for the black people of Chicago.
Yeah, how much time does he spend on the south side?
What kind of a dedication to black people is he? I mean, they're getting killed like crazy all over America because of the crazy DAs that Soros put in. He doesn't do anything about it. That guy, I mean, Biden, I think people are getting to see. But I think the prince, still, there's a long way to go to get people to be honest about the prince as to what a disaster he was. I think he was a turning point, not Clinton. I think Clinton was a flawed man like everybody in the White House, but essentially a man who loved America. No way that Obama loved America. He wouldn't have sat in Wright's church for 20 years if you loved America. You wouldn't have had your wife say, first time she was proud of our country is when he got elected. What? So he could give a couple $100 million to Iran so they could kill people. And that was it. That was the biggest thing he did.
That, along with the rise in racial tensions, we'll look back at this time period, and I truly feel people will not look at Obama in good light when it comes to what he did for race relations. He had such an opportunity.
He did it on purpose. He did it on purpose to break up our country, so we'll be part of the one world that Soros and Klaus Schwab and Obama will for us. I think Obama wants to be like the king of the one world, or maybe she wants to be the king. I don't know. His wife, Michelle, she's taken on a lot more authority lately. Maybe she wants to run for president.
That's what some. That's the rumor, and maybe here with just a few. We're well into soccer time, but we're gonna stay on a little longer with our new commercials and just with all the news out there. Maybe some questions, Mayor, some rapid fire involving the news. You may have seen Governor DeSantis and Governor Gavin Newsom have tentatively agreed to debate one another in November. Interesting strategy by
November?
DeSantis.
I mean,
In
after the
November.
election?
Yeah, no, before the election, but I will say it does give Governor DeSantis a reason to stay in the race for 3 or 4 more
Wait.
months. To be honest, that's what I saw.
It's only like a few days in November.
Yeah.
Newsom
No.
didn't even announce his presidency, so what's the point?
Well, for DeSantis and the mayor and I talked about this,
But
right?
that would be a
He's
completely
throwing some
distracting.
Hail
If
Marys.
they're going to debate, they should debate now. That'd be a terribly distracting. Oh, November of this year?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right. That's a year before the election.
yeah, a year before the
Hey, if
election.
they want to debate, let them debate.
Yeah, but as Mike correctly pointed out, Newsom is as of now not running for president. Why is DeSantis challenging a non-presidential contender? Someone made a good point. Have we ever seen this where a presidential contender debated
Lincoln and
a non-
Douglas.
was Douglas running for president?
Lincoln and Douglas were running against each other for the Senate in 1858.
They were running against each other.
and it was a preparatory run to the
Yeah, the Lincoln Douglas debate.
to the
Very
White
famous.
to the White House, and Lincoln lost that, but then he defeated him in the main event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the point I'm trying to make
yeah.
is, Mayor, is Gavin Newsom is still the governor of California and still never said he's running for anything. He's not going to be anyone's vice president. He just wants to debate DeSantis. I don't know, to try to make him look stupid. I don't know what the point is of this.
Let's
I'm
put it
confused.
this way.
He's trying to establish himself as the guy who will be the candidate should Biden wake up tomorrow morning and say,
He does that every morning.
but then they can't hide it.
That's true.
Like he hasn't spoken on that beach for a while. It's possible he can't talk
He's
anymore.
already out. He's already mute.
Now there are people who told me they saw him unsuccessfully trying to make a sandcastle, and nobody would allow their little girls to come over to help him. A couple of little girls wanted to come over, and the mothers became panicked, and these are even Democrat mothers, because Democrat mothers don't want their kids' hair sniffed. Because look, until he explains what that hair sniffing is, he shouldn't do it.
Maybe-
I never saw it before, and tell me it isn't weird.
I mean, it's 100% weird, Mayor. And I mean, some men have weird fetishes, foot fetishes, hair fetishes.
No, feet's a big one.
Yeah, that feet, hair. I don't know. People have race.
I know we're not
fetishes.
going to say.
I didn't say
We're
it.
not going to say. We're going.
You and I looked at each other.
You know who has a one though?
Go-
Hunter.
Oh, I
Hunter's
mean,
got a whole tape in which he does an instruction on foot fetish.
He was gonna guess somebody.
I thought you were talking about
No, don't mention any names.
No, I'm not.
Governor or something.
No,
Don't
but no,
mention
I'm just
any-
saying maybe he has some. Maybe like he
After
sniffs.
the show, I'm going to tell you a revelation I got recently. I want to see what you think if it's true or not.
Maybe he sniffs Jill's hair every night before he goes to bed.
I don't think he and Jill do much sniffing anymore. She looks like she's had it with him. She never pays attention to him. I mean, she lets the guy trip. She doesn't even.
Maybe
I
she
mean,
has a little
I'm
side-
telling you, even some of the wives that I had we had some kind of real I don't think they'd let me slip without helping me.
That's right, Mayor. And so, of course, we'll dig into this for tomorrow night. Devon Archer's interview transcript, of course, has been released. So we'll go through that. You made some
Got
comments about it
devastated.
earlier today.
Devon Archer's transcript is devastating. You only need one thing in it. It's where he says, contradicting the new biggest liar in the Democratic Party from New York, Rich Boy Goldman, entitled one of the limousine liberal phonies that even black people say do more damage to us. Some very, very radical civil rights leaders have said the most damage done to us are by phony white liberals. Well, we got one, and man, did he lie his backside off the other day. Whoa. And I got to tell you, he's not good at it. Now, Schiff is good at it. He keeps a smile on his face. It is a dumb looking smile, but it's a smile. Swalwell is not good at it. Swalwell looks sneaky and like a liar every time he talks, even when he's telling the truth. What was the name of his communist spy girlfriend? Woo Woo or Poo Poo or
Fang.
Fang.
oh Fang. But was that really her name?
Oh, Fang. Yes,
Did he call her? Did he say hi Fang?
I think so. Let me get that.
Did she come to Congress with him?
I think they made up the name Fang Fang or Bang Bang. Bang Bang. I don't know.
Oh,
man.
I guess that was his nickname
Yeah,
for
that was
her.
a nickname. Yeah.
No, her name was Christine Fang.
Yeah, well,
Oh, it wasn't Fang. He didn't like introduce her to Nancy Pelosi as Madam Speaker. This is my girlfriend Fang.
No, I guess not.
her first name is Christine. It's Christine Fang, but they just call her.
So if that happened,
No, whoa.
but if that happened, you know what would have
Fang,
happened?
Christine Fang.
She went by Fang in some circles.
Okay, so if that happened,
Christine was probably her English name.
so Nancy would have said, "Give me a number. My husband will give you a call. We can do a little inside information because it's legal for me,
think
not
you're right.
legal for you. Let me see if we can leverage this situation." They're all crooks.
That's right, Mayor. And as we close out, let our
All they
audience
care
know-
about is money, and they don't care about this country.
That's right. So what can folks expect for tomorrow night? We hit some very big ratings again this evening, as we have all week. Kind of I'm not saying we give anyone any homework tonight,
Set the stage.
but set the stage for tomorrow evening and maybe what our viewers can expect on.
Well,
So
I've
we've
been
been very busy.
delayed on my
Right.
project of opening up my files, so you can hear the tape recordings. You heard a little bit of Shogun last night, but I got about 50 of those that prove. I mean, this guy should have been in jail 3 years ago. I'm talking about the president of the United States. It is, to me, an outrage that every night he's presiding over this country, and he's number one, the biggest crook that's ever done that, without any doubt. There's no doubt about it. This evidence is not questionable. It's not, there's so much of it. And number two, you've got to be a kiss ass to not realize that this guy is somewhere along some major level of dementia. How can we have a president that has dementia? We're being laughed at, but most importantly, our enemies are saying we got an advantage now and we're going to press it. We need to be protected like every country. We are now like, if you want to get the U.S., they got a president who's morally compromised and mentally inadequate. Wow. I mean, imagine what all this stuff going on in the country, and they watch this moron sitting at the beach. He's acting as if there's nothing wrong. Look, if this country were moving along great, if people weren't paying a lot more money for everything they have to buy, if we had some kind of resolution to what's going on in Ukraine, rather than giving them this kind of money for the next 10 years, if we could figure out how to match or exceed the Chinese Navy that's now exceeded us, and the army is on their way to doing it. If we could figure out how to bring taxes down so people could live here. Okay. But we don't do any of that. And we have our leader sitting on the beach looking like this is an outing from the Happy Valley nursing home. And his wife pays no attention to him. They got some hired hand who pays it. Looks like she's given up on him. Now, she's got to be one hell of a liar. I mean, she knows how demented he is. The guy thinks he gave a medal to his uncle in the White House, and his uncle was dead for 7 years before he went into the White House. I don't know, when Papa starts saying that, everybody starts thinking we better we better get Papa to retire and get him the right help, and let's see if we can ward this off, less pressure. He's making decisions involving the life and death of you, me, our children, our grandchildren. What kind of irresponsible people are we? How cowardly are we that we don't stand up to this? How cowardly are our politicians? And ultimately, I asked the Abraham Lincoln question. Where's their love of America? Where's their desire to free this country of the tremendous damage that having a man like this in the White House does? It's incalculable. It could be years to overcome this. We're doing what they always hoped we would do. We're becoming corrupt. We're a totally corrupt government. This last indictment proves it. This last indictment is not a crime. This is a list of First Amendment activity that he's being charged for because they are so damn afraid of him. And you know why they're afraid of him? Because he's going to throw them out. And they're not going to be able to steal the amount of money they're stealing. I'm going to tell you, I was taught this when I first became a prosecutor. It's the reason I was the most successful prosecutor in the 20th century. Follow the money. Well, go to rudygiulianics.com. Catch up on our podcast. Go to wabcradio.com, particularly tomorrow at 3:00 when I will be on. And then we'll be back here at 8:00 tomorrow night. We'll have a wrap-up show. I have no idea what exciting things we will do, but we will. And then over the weekend, we get Dr. Maria back, and we blow it out with uncovering the truth, which is not easy in America. God bless you. God bless America. And like I said on my radio show, I think it's appropriate tonight to say a prayer to God to give extra strength to Donald Trump and his family. Because I know, and I have no reason to believe he's gotten down everything I know about today. And my son saw him today, and he's doing fine. But I still think the man's a human being. What they're doing to him is never been done in America. These kinds of tactics, these are tactics, Nazi Germany, China, Russia. I don't know. Pray for him. Ask God to give him strength. I don't know if you realize how much we need him to fix this. So say a prayer for Thanksgiving that you're an American. And say a prayer. If you feel like it, you say a prayer for Donald Trump. He deserves it after what they're putting him through. This is the worst torture I've seen for a legitimate and enormously successful American political figure. One could argue that his first 4 years were one of the best that any American president ever had, and we're torturing him for it. Well, hopefully that's going to rectify itself, and prayers help a lot. I believe that. The Democrats don't, because they don't believe in God. So God bless America. And if you don't like me saying it,